In studio now, Riggs Eckelberry. Oh my goodness. I got a CEO of a public company in my studio. That's a good thing. How are you, sir?
Well, the pleasure is mine.
Great to see you again. So listen, we picked up a number of new cities on TV, specifically Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. We picked up Philly. We picked up New York on television. Now we're on TV and radio there. In Los Angeles, there are some people that haven't heard your story. I'm going to make you tell it from the very beginning because I want to start it from the very beginning because when you first told this story, the word aquaculture wasn't even in your dialogue, at least with us yet. It probably was in the back of your mind and your crazy brother professor's mind, but it wasn't. You hadn't put that out there yet. So kind of start from the beginning and tell us about the genesis of this thing.
Sure. Well, OriginOil started out as a company that was going to industrialize the production of algae.
So this started out not as a water cleanup company.
Not at all.
Not as an oil company. And not as an aquaculture company.
Not at all.
It started out as a algae farmer.
Well, algae technology.
Okay, algae technology.
So, algae is great because it grows really fast, and it's, petroleum is nothing more than old algae.
Yeah, and let's make that clear because algae is a good thing. In fact, algae is probably more important than the oil itself if you really think about the market size of what algae can produce versus what oil can produce is what I've learned. So continue.
Yes. So over time, algae is going to dominate our economy for many reasons, as nutritional, as chemicals, ultimately as oil. And we started solving all kinds of problems in algae production. But
was this by design at first?
Oh, yeah. We said, we're going to do algae. And we started with one patent application, and my crazy brother Nicholas kept inventing.
Who, by the way, we're going to have in studio next Tuesday. I just locked that in.
Let's do it.
On there. Okay, so your crazy brother kept going. And
December 2008, I walk into the lab, and he's got a tub of algae, and it's separating. And I'm saying, what the heck are you doing? He says, I have no idea.
So suddenly, he's got a big electric cord off a blow dryer in one end. He's got a tub on the other, and algae in the middle.
And his hair's going up.
His hair's going up, and suddenly algae is separating from the water.
Exactly.
Okay.
So by the middle part of 2009, that was our business because the biggest problem in algae is all the water it lives in. It's like getting Kool-Aid back out of the Kool-Aid. Once you dissolve it.
So the idea is, and this is where you guys came up with your patented technology, electro-water separation.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, 2009, 2010.
By the way, let me just say this about electro-water separation. High speed, chemical-free.
Low energy.
It kills bacteria.
Yes.
99% removal of any of the bad stuff.
Yes.
Any of the gunk. So I start thinking about this, and suddenly you're in the algae business. Suddenly, wait a second, we could be in the water cleanup business, which is bigger than the algae business, right?
Well, we brought on Bill Charneski, who's been at Dow for a quarter century, and he starts doing all the product engineering. And one day he's with our engineers, and he says, what if we could do oiling, separate out the oil? And it worked.
And let's talk about that application too. So originally you would go to on site where there's a well, and you've got dirt. Part of drilling oil is using water to extract. Correct?
Oh, well, if every well in the world uses water to flood the petroleum out.
Because the oil rises? Is that
just to flood it out, right?
Okay.
But in America, we've got this thing called hydraulic fracturing, where we're breaking up tight shale to get huge amounts. In fact, they now say that every square foot of America is potentially a source for shale oil.
If you can get it out.
Oh, they can get it out. They can get the oil out of source rock. This is that great story about how successive U.S. administrations conspired to keep the price of oil up to get renewables going.
Oh, I see.
Well, Exxon has 30,000 scientists on staff. They were working on this too. With the high price of oil, we can actually figure out something with shale.
So where does the water lie? Where does the water come in? So they're using massive amounts of water to break up this shale.
Now it comes back up. Okay. Stuff comes back up. You got to clean it. So you send down 3 million gallons of water in one fell swoop. A bunch of it surges back out, and typically they take that stuff and they truck it off site. So huge amounts of trucking traffic.
Right.
These disposal wells are getting filled up, and this water costs money. I'm going to show you some pictures of a tour that Bill made with our new site down in Delta, Colorado, where there's these huge tanks of city water coming out of Delta. This is stuff that people live off of.
So our television guys can see this, and I'll post these up on the website, bigbizshow.com. Even better, go to originoil.com, and you can see these right there. But this is what we're looking at is a tank.
This is fresh water that is being metered out of the city, that is taking water away from residents.
Right.
And they're shooting that down. So that's valuable stuff. Then
if you
they're
could
throwing
clean
it away.
Imagine what you could do to it.
Reuse it. clean it and reuse it.
Now, when you clean it, what happens to the byproduct? So you got water on one side, then you got gook on the other
Well, you
side.
got a
Is
lot
that,
of petroleum.
is that resellable gook?
A lot of it's petroleum.
Okay. And is
That's
that
what we found.
so? And this is, we talked about this a long time ago. This is almost like the mine tailing business.
When we were at Lost Hills with our first test a few months ago, and we went up there, and these guys said, well, here's some decanted water, and it is pretty clean. We're going to go and dispose of it. We took that stuff and pulled so much petroleum out of it,
right.
an extra 10%. 10% is a huge amount of petroleum because their margins are so thin. Right. They were blown away.
The interesting part, by the way, OriginOil is the name of the company. Their stock symbol OOIL. We started off as a small caps for people too segment on this, and we became enamored with this because the model kept growing and growing and growing, and it's been a really great story. It's been a lot of good education for an average investor also, because suddenly you've got your base story that you just talked about. You're in the algae business, and wait a second, we got this electro-water separation that we've discovered that we can apply to this algae, and we can apply to oil. But suddenly, what does water and algae have in common? And aquaculture came to mind somehow, right?
Somehow Nicholas made the connection, and he said,
Is he insured, by the way? We need to keep him in hiding so nothing happens to him, because he's an asset of the company. He should be. There should be like a line on your P&L that says Nicholas, because this guy comes up with more stuff.
Well, he eats really well. So
well, that's good.
Anyway, so he said we can get the ammonia out of fish farms, and that's a big problem because the fishes pee in their own water, and it limits the amount of fish you can have.
Right.
And then there's more to it. There's bacteria.
Right.
There's a virus. So
this is our food supply we're talking about.
Our food supply. And by the way, the value of farmed fish in the world now exceeds the value of farmed beef by dollar value.
Okay, so let's repeat that. So the farmed fish in the world now exceeds farmed beef in the world.
By dollar value, yes.
And at the end of the day, there's a water problem there that you guys can fix.
Well, it's a water problem, and it's also a sanitation problem.
Sure.
And so the water, they have to use all these cleanup tanks, with lily pads and so on. So it multiplies the amount of ponds they have to have by maybe 5 times. Or they have to use expensive biofilters. Or guess what? They use nothing at all and just use a rushing river and export the ammonia downstream. So there's a lot of nasty practices in fish farming that are growing because it's such a booming industry.
With respect to running a public company like this, and once again, the name of the company, OriginOil, and OriginOil.com, stock symbol OOIL. When you take a look at metrics for what are we going to focus on next, where are we going to put our money in as far as R&D goes, you have a pretty big net cast that you didn't have a year ago.
Yes.
How do you make the decision on what you're going to focus on now, or do you just you bring more investors in and focus on it all at the same time?
Well, first of all, the key is we do not plan to actually build channel and manufacturing.
Right. This is a licensing model,
right.
Correct?
What we're doing right now is we're doing low volume manufacturing to create
proof of concept.
Jumpstart these industries.
Sure.
But as fast as possible, we want partners so that they can take the heavy lifting.
So what you're focusing on is proof of concept, and then somebody buys off, and then you get a little piece of every single deal that goes out there.
Exactly. It's the only way.
Is there? I should say, are there more technologies, future applications? I mean, you've got oil and gas, you got algae, you got aquaculture, you got wastewater at this point.
Well, waste is emerging. Now, what we've done with waste is we kept it very compartmentalized because that's a huge business.
Yeah, it's a complete,
way beyond our capabilities.
And you don't want to cross-contaminate, pardon the pun, with all your other models, because this aquaculture model it has significant ties with the algae model, as does the oil model. So suddenly wastewater, though, that's a completely different game.
Well, and what we've done
different competitors, too, I might add.
Right. We have a joint venture in Paris. Because France has...
Which you just announced, by the way. That news is...
Well, I was with the president of France because he visited our startup near Paris to speak to the nation on how a wonderful example this was of innovation.
Yeah, that was last week. Yeah, it was good. And then the when you get proof of concept in a country like that, what's next? Greece, possibly Spain.
Well, Europe.
I mean, it's all of Europe. Is that a possibility?
Well, first of all, France has the reason we're in France is because we love the food.
Yeah, sure.
And
you want a reason to go.
But putting that aside, they have the most aggressive building regulations in the world, where by 2020 all commercial buildings must be net energy positive and treat their own water.
Boy, business loves nothing more than a mandate, because suddenly. Regardless if you could be technology agnostic, but if there's a mandate, somebody's going to make some money out there, and that's why you guys are at. Will you come back next week with your crazy professor brother, and we can delve into this further?
Let's do it.
OriginOil is the name of the company. OOIL is the stock symbol. OriginOil.com is the website. Brand new website. There's lots of information. There are a lot of great videos on there. And actually, next week we're going to talk about the documentary that's going to be put up on the Blaze Network as well as Biz TV on Origin Oil. Riggs, thanks so much. We'll see you next week.